Hi, second graders. Welcome to Social Studies. If you remember, we have been learning about the different types of communities. And on last week, we learned what they are: urban, suburban, and rural. And then on the second day, we learned about urban communities, right? And if you remember, urban communities are the ones with tall buildings, and it's pretty noisy and crowded. There's lots of people, people living in apartments, taking taxis and buses, and all those different things that we learned about urban communities. Today, we're going to learn about a community that's very close to an urban community called a suburban community. And if you notice, it has the word urban in it. That's because it's near the urban community. So I want you to get your piece of paper out, and on the very top of your paper, you're going to write the word suburban. So get that down on your paper, suburban. If you need to, you can pause. Anytime that I do any kind of writing, hear what I'm saying and then pause and write it down. Okay? So on your piece of paper, you should have suburban, and then I want you to draw a house, a big house, so that you have space in the middle of the house to write some notes down, okay? So draw a house. There's a reason why I chose a house. Last time we did an apartment. So let's see, why is it that Mrs. Davis chose a house instead of an apartment like last time? All right, now let me go ahead and I'm going to read a letter from somebody who actually lives in a suburban community, and we can learn from them. Okay, so give me 1 second. Let me click here. Sorry, guys. All right, here we are. Okay, so it says, "Dear class, hi there. My name is Lucy. I'm from Cherry Hill, Ohio. Cherry Hill is a suburban community." Did you notice that she said that she lives in Ohio? So let's read the next part. She said, "My town is near the major city, Columbus, Ohio. We also live near or in Columbus, Ohio." Then she says, "I like being close to a big city, but with much less noise and traffic." Interesting. "I live in a house with my family. In the morning, I take a school bus to get to the school, but my friend Avery is allowed to walk to school because there are sidewalks in her development." I want us to stop right there because she's already told us a lot about her community and what is there. So she said that she lives in a house. Okay, this is important. And notice we drew a house as our clue to remind us of what an urban or suburban community is. That's because a lot of people who live in the suburban communities, or they call them suburbs too, they live in houses. So why don't we write the word house? Instead of an apartment, we're going to write house. So here I have, inside of my house, I wrote the word house. Oops, sorry. Okay, so they live in houses. If you're wondering why do they live in houses instead of apartments, well, some people live in apartments, but most people live in houses. And the reason is because there's more space. In the city, everything is so close together, and there's so many buildings right next to each other that you have to live in an apartment. If you live in a suburb, there's more space. So there's a little bit more room to make a house and have all these things that a house has. Okay? She also said that she takes the bus to school, right? If you're in the city, you might walk to your school. They can take buses too, though. But you'll see a lot of school buses as well. And then you saw her other friend Avery takes the sidewalk because she can just walk to her school on the sidewalk. Sidewalks are things that you don't really see very often in an urban community because there's just not enough space for those sidewalks. But when you go to a neighborhood where there's houses, you're going to see sidewalks. You might have a sidewalk in your neighborhood. Maybe you don't. These are some clues to tell you, are you in an urban setting or a suburban setting? So I'm going to write the word sidewalk. And you can see it right here, sidewalk. Okay, so now I have house and sidewalk. And then we're not going to write this word, but it says the word development. So see how she said, but my friend Avery is allowed to walk to school because there are sidewalks in her development. What a development is a neighborhood that's been created together, right? So that's what a development is. So why don't we just write the word neighborhood? You're going to see lots and lots of neighborhoods in a suburban community. So I'm going to write the word neighborhood. Neighborhood. It's kind of a hard word, so you can look at my paper. I'm going to show it at the end where it's closer up because I know it's kind of hard to read. But try your best. How would you spell neighborhood? All right, let's keep reading to see what else she has. On my way to school, I pass our town post office, supermarket, and movie theater. This is also important, guys. Whenever you're in a suburban community, there's got to be a place where you go and you buy the things that you need or things that you want to do, like entertainment type stuff. So what we call those, the places where you go to the post office, the supermarket, and the movie theater, like when they're all together in one place, we call it a shopping center. So we can write down the word shopping center because a lot of suburban communities will have a shopping center, a place where you can find all the things that you want and need in one place. It's not a mall, because a mall is much, much, much bigger, but it's kind of a smaller place where there's just all these buildings with all the things that you want and need, called a shopping center. I'm going to go ahead and put shopping center. You can write that on your piece of paper. Alrighty. Let's keep going. After school, my friend Avery comes over and we play in my backyard with my neighborhood friends. Okay, another thing to note is in urban communities where everything is close together and there's not a lot of space, it's very crowded, you're not going to have people living in houses with yards in them, backyards, at least not very many, because there's not enough space. So in the suburban communities where there's a little bit more space, you are going to have a backyard. So we can put things like backyard. So on my paper, I'm writing backyard. Here in this picture just says yard. It's up to you. I wrote backyard because that's what I call it. Then she said, there is plenty of space to run around outside, and I even have a trampoline. This makes me think of Macy because I've seen her trampoline many times. And she also has a backyard too. So that gives me a clue that maybe Macy lives in a suburb or a suburban community. Then she says, I love my community. What type of community do you live in? Sincerely, Lucy. Alrighty, friends. I hope you guys had a chance to think to yourself, what kind of community do I live in, right? Do you live in? Do you live in a place where, one, you live in a house, or do you live in an apartment? Is there a backyard? Is there not a backyard? Are there sidewalks? Or is it really busy and not a lot of space? These are some clues to help you know what kind of community you live in. All right, on your piece of paper, what you should have is this. We have the words house, sidewalk, neighborhood, shopping center, backyard. These are all some clues that tell us, yep, we're in a suburban community. These aren't all the things, but these are just some things that you'll find if you go to a suburban community. All right, guys, take a picture of your paper with these words on it, and not tomorrow. The next day, you're going to learn about the last type of community. So I hope you're enjoying learning about them, and can't wait to see what you guys post.